We open our mouths, make some noises, and boom, the person sitting across from us knows exactly what we're thinking. We take it completely for granted, don't we? But right beneath this everyday miracle is a beautifully complex piece of machinery. Welcome to this explainer on the mechanics of meaning.
I mean, it's a seemingly impossible question, right? When you strip human evolution all the way back, how in the world did primitive, guttural sounds evolve into our ability to discuss quantum physics, or negotiate peace treaties, or express a feeling of deep existential dread? Well, today we're going to demystify exactly how raw sounds and scribbled shapes get transformed into complex, shared concepts in our minds. We're looking at the actual physics and engineering of how a thought moves directly from my brain into yours.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The illusion of language. 2. Decoding signs and symbols. 3. The power of context. And 4. Mastering the mechanics. All right, let's jump right into part 1, the illusion of language. We tend to walk around thinking words contain some kind of inherent magic, but the reality is far more industrial. I want you to actually try this semantic satiation exercise right now, or, try it later if you're in public. Say the word door out loud 50 times in a row. If you actually do it, something incredibly strange happens. Very quickly, the word loses all its magic. It just dissolves into this bizarre alien noise, a weird duh sound followed by an or sound. The concept of the wooden thing you walk through completely vanishes from your mind, leaving only raw acoustics. And that proves a fundamental truth. Symbols and sounds are just empty vessels. They hold absolutely nothing until we collectively agree on what they're supposed to carry. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept of arbitrary signs. Look, a dog isn't called a dog because the animal inherently sounds or looks like the letters D-O-G. After all, that exact same furry animal is a perro in Spanish and a chien in French. The sound itself has absolutely zero to do with a furry animal with a tail. We just historically agreed to use that specific phonetic label in English. Our words are just arbitrary signs, sitting empty, waiting at the very start of the assembly line for us to give them a job. The letters, the sounds, they're just the raw materials of meaning.
Moving right along to Section 2, Decoding Signs and Symbols.
To really understand this machinery, we have to look at semiotics. Think of semiotics as the core operating system of human communication. It's the study of how we take something that is fundamentally meaningless, like, say, a red hexagon on the side of the road, and universally program it to mean, slam on your brakes right now to save a life. Semiotics shows us that we are constantly reading signs, not just in books, but in every single interaction we have, effortlessly translating shapes and colors into life or death actions.
But here's the catch. You can't just throw arbitrary signs together in a massive pile and expect them to mean something. If I just hand you the words dog, the, man, bit, the, it's just a chaotic heap of raw materials. That's exactly where syntax comes in. Syntax provides the mechanical gears for our factory. Rule agreement, sequential order, tense alignment, structural boundaries. These are the strict physical laws of the language assembly line. They allow us to link those arbitrary symbols together sequentially without the whole system jamming up. The dog bit the man means something very different from the man bit the dog, purely because of the sequential order of those gears.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that a thought moves mechanically through these 3 distinct phases before it can even leave your brain. You generate the raw thought or emotion, you unconsciously run to the mental warehouse and select the arbitrary symbols, the vocabulary, that best match it. And then you run those symbols through the syntactical gears so they can be packaged into a sentence. Just think about the sheer computational power required for the human brain to do this seamlessly. All of this is happening in milliseconds, thousands and thousands of times a day, without you ever breaking a sweat. Which brings us to our 3rd section, the power of context. Because a perfectly constructed sentence can still completely fail if it hits the wrong environment, we need pragmatics. Pragmatics acts as the final filter on our factory floor, making sure that a sentence makes sense in the real world. You can have perfect symbols and perfect syntax, but pragmatics asks, who's saying this, where are they saying it, and what's the underlying social dynamic? It's actually the layer of communication that a basic AI often struggles with the most. Why? Because artificial intelligence lacks lived, contextual, bodily experience. It can perfect the syntax, but it doesn't have the social awareness to know when to bend the rules.
Imagine saying this exact string of perfectly constructed words. I've never been happier to be here. Now, if you say that phrase at a wedding, it's entirely genuine, full of love and celebration, right? But if you say it at a funeral, it instantly becomes deeply dark inappropriate and highly sarcastic. The words didn't change at all. The syntax didn't change one bit. That entire massive shift in meaning was generated entirely by the context in which the words were deployed.
In fact, the surrounding environment and our body language do significantly heavier lifting on the assembly line than spoken words ever will. We rely on the physical space, our posture, our tone, our shared history to deliver the vast bulk of our meaning. The words are really just the delivery vehicle. Context is the actual payload. And if the context isn't right, the delivery vehicle crashes.
All right, let's wrap this up with Section 4, Mastering the Mechanics. Let's trace the complete, finished journey of a thought. As a speaker, you encode your raw idea using symbols and syntax. You then transmit it, literally pushing air out of your lungs to vibrate your vocal cords and send physical sound waves rippling across the room. The listener then receives those waves and decodes them using their own understanding of those symbols and the shared context. Only when steps 1 through 3 are successful is meaning actually shared. We are describing a completely mundane, everyday act, but when you break it down, it's practically a superhuman ability. It's essentially telepathy, enabled by a shared mechanical system. 0. That is exactly how much inherent meaning exists in a conversation if the speaker and listener aren't sharing the same mechanical rules and context. If I encode a message using a set of symbols you simply don't understand, or if you apply a completely different pragmatic context to my words than I intended, the amount of communication that takes place is exactly 0. We so often think misunderstandings are a failure of intention or empathy, but more often than not, there's simply a mechanical failure on the assembly line.
This incredible system shows us that meaning isn't just something we find lying around in the world. It's something we're constantly, mechanically constructing with one another. Every single time you speak, you are acting as a master engineer, using gears, filters, and arbitrary signs to build a reliable bridge directly into someone else's mind. And like any beautifully engineered system, it requires maintenance, awareness, and care to keep it functioning smoothly.
So, as you go through your day, ask yourself, are your words actually building the meaning you intend, or are the gears slipping a bit? Are you paying attention to the context, or just tossing arbitrary signs out into the void and hoping for the best? Keep questioning the hidden mechanics of your world. Thanks for joining this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.